This program is brought to you by Emory University.
Hi everybody, and welcome to today's web chat from Goizueta Business School. My name is J. Michael Moore and work in the communications office here at the business school. I'm joined by the director of our evening MBA program and two evening MBA program students, and we're here to talk to you about the evening program here at Goizueta and hopefully answer any questions you may have. A few housekeeping items to begin. You can ask questions directly into the portal, and we'll answer a few on air if they intend to speak to a large audience. If not, we have two of our talented staffers in the back behind the glass who will be answering questions as well offline. If you miss a question or you come in late, no worries. We will put this chat on YouTube and also provide the slides, and our admissions professionals are also ready to answer any questions you may have from those questions directly. So we'll begin by just introducing who is here today to speak with you, and we'll start to my left with Professor Doug Bowman.
My name is Doug Bowman. I'm the Senior Associate Dean for our Working Professionals programs, which includes our Evening MBA program and our Executive MBA program. I'm also a Professor of Marketing, and in both programs I teach the Product and Brand Management class.
Hello, I'm Natalie Fisk. I'm the Evening MBA President, and I am class of 2017. I have a background in healthcare, and I'm a senior specialist in healthcare quality.
My name is John Schmidt. I'm a class of 2018 students, so just finished my first full year. I'm a director of business development at Supply.com, which is an e-commerce and distribution player in the kitchen and bath home improvement space.
Thanks, everybody. I want to begin with just a few of the nuts and bolts, and Doug, we'll kick it to you right away to talk about the program overview. There's obviously lots of moving parts if you want to go and get a top-notch MBA like we offer here, and there's some key points to remember about how we have that flexibility built into the schedule. So could you give us a rundown, if you will?
Yeah, it's a foundation-based cohort in the sense that all students start late August. We have some orientation activities before that. The typical pace is 2 courses per semester. So when you're doing your core courses, which is in terms 1, 2, 3, and 6, that'll be Monday and Wednesday. On the other semesters, when you're doing your elective courses, those can be any of Monday through Thursday. Classes meet 6:30 to 9:15 p.m. and it's on campus here in Druid Hills. There's lots of opportunity to customize, and we have over 20 concentrations. Graduating class of 2016, we tabulated that there were 60 different electives that they took collectively, so lots of opportunities to customize. In terms of flexibility, in addition to classes that are offered during the regular semester, we also offer classes between semesters. There's usually 2 or 3 options. One of the more popular electives is our Washington campus elective, where students go up to Washington, D.C. for a week-long immersion in business and public policy. And we also have piloted some weekend electives, small numbers, and those are cross-listed with our executive MBAs. The standard time to completion is 8 semesters or 32 months. The most common pace is 7 semesters or 27 months, and we have some students that accelerate finishing in 6 semesters or 24 months. The curriculum consists of 9 core courses, 8 elective courses, and then 3 modules or immersions. Those are our Goizueta Impact, newly rebranded Goizueta Impact course, which is a field-based course where students work on a real-world project where they're drawing on their coursework. This comes in the first year of the curriculum. We have a leadership development immersion, which occurs in the summer semester, and then an international study module, and there's multiple opportunities for that. There's a China and Brazil module that are in conjunction with our partner schools in Fudan and in Rio. And in each March, there's 2 or 3 options that are led by our faculty. This past March, we had a group going to Japan to compare and contrast mass-produced production systems with more craft production systems using Japanese techniques for operations, marketing, etc. And then we had a group going to to Portugal to study more of the macroeconomic business, and obviously they're in a bit of a crisis around currency, and trying to understand some of the implications around that. So let me kind of pause for here and for a second, but I think that in a nutshell gives people a feel for so the broad picture.
Thanks, Doug, and that's perfect timing because we do have a question for the students, and probably good for both of you to answer this one. Describe your typical week, either what you're facing now or your first semester. So maybe if one of you could take the first semester approach, right out of the gates, and then now as you're more a mature student and going through your electives.
Sure. I'll grab first semester because I probably did it more recently. A typical week, and it kind of depends on what part of the semester you're in. A typical week is, as Doug mentioned, 2 nights of class, and for my cohort, it was probably 1 night of extra group work where you really met with your team that you're working on the impact project with, or met with your team that you're working on other projects or homework assignments with. So 1 night, 2 nights in class, 1 night with your team, and then whatever time you needed outside of class to read and prepare and just be ready. That's kind of the academic side. There's also a good balance of some social activities, so we make sure to do social activities every couple weeks after class and go out and grab drinks or food to kick back, and we definitely take part of that in the first semester. I think in the back half of the first semester, and this is probably the case in a lot of them, you'll see the workload can increase as you have projects due, and that's just a function of just how you manage your time.
And I would say, to add to that, as you progress in the program, you learn to manage that time a little bit better, because you're not just thrown into this new schedule, so you actually know how to plan your time coming up. I can say that I take a lot of I know pretty much every one of my elective classes, so at that point it does become a little bit more social. If you like that aspect of the class, I have chances several times a week to get together with friends, because we do tend to go into groups of people that we know or that we've formed friendships with. But it's definitely been the best experience of my life. I feel like I've really been engaged in the Emory community, even I could even say more so than my undergraduate, and I don't feel that my time here as being a full-time employee and a full-time student has ever been that I've ever lost an opportunity because of that. So my week is very much Emory and work, but it's very manageable.
That's great. Another hallmark of this program is the interaction with the faculty. So again, I'll let you both take a crack at this one. Describe a little bit about that and how much you talk to your professor before, after class, outside of class, email, etc., and how that helps your experience.
Certainly. The faculty has done a fantastic job making themselves available to meet our schedules. We had an accounting professor who made it very clear that she would accept phone calls or text messages at all hours of the night, and I think some people took her up on it. But very responsive to emails, and more importantly, I think in the context of class, either before class or in the break in between, as each class has kind of an hour and a half in each part of the night. The 15-minute break in the middle is a great chance to kind of connect with your professor, talk to them about what you're doing and how something that you've talked about in the first half of class is related to what you're doing, or you can ask them further questions. So I found it to be really engaging, and the professors make themselves very available.
They definitely take a personal interest and invest a lot of time in you. I've had several professors that I've reached out to have lunch with to talk about case interviews, since I'll be interviewing soon, and they were glad to take the time out of their work day to help me and actually talk about the case interview process. Also, a great thing about Goizueta is you can do a directed study. So if you find an area that you're really interested in, you can actually ask a professor to sponsor you, and that's something that they also give their time to. So I feel like they're able to engage with you a lot, and I've gotten a lot out of talking with professors and networking through them.
One of the things we've done is in the program office this past year is to launch faculty student dinners. So we do it twice a semester, 5:30 to 6:15. A chance for the faculty to kind of introduce themselves on an informal basis, informal discussions, and it just really helps to create those bonds that could potentially lead later on to a student feeling a little bit more comfortable about approaching a faculty, maybe that they're not even sort of taking a class with at this point in time.
What's different from a faculty member's perspective? What's different about teaching the students that do have full-time jobs that come in directly from a work day and hit the classroom?
Well, it's really the context, right? In the sense that they have the context to apply the material on the job, and so you're always looking for a chance to, you know, in a full evening, you're be covering, you know, 2, 3, 4, 5 topics. You want at least 2 or 3 of them to be something where at least the majority of the class, if not all the class, is going to find some opportunity to apply that material in real time, you know, the next day or at least the next week.
Mm-hmm. Same question to our students. Interesting to talk to people from other careers and see that applied in the classroom and in the discussion?
Certainly. I've been very impressed with the diversity of the cohort. It's helpful for me, and this is something that I was looking for going into the Goizueta experience, and it's definitely come to fruition so far. It's helpful for me to kind of understand through talking to really smart people in other fields what I'm good at and what I'm not as good at, and then I can either hone in on strengths or work on weaknesses. I've been able to do that a ton in the first few semesters I've been here, and plan to keep it up because that's a key part of growth in my opinion.
I think it's been great working with other full-time employees because our schedules kind of combine that we're able to meet on the weekends. But something that I've learned a lot about is Excel, and that's just from being in class with some engineers or some other students who are very proficient in the program. So I haven't even needed extra classes. I've learned almost all from learning with my fellow classmates. So I learn a lot just from being in class with them as much as sometimes I do from a course itself. It's great.
Yeah, and so one of the things we do for the first few semesters is the program, assign the students on teams, and we try to do it in a way so you're not necessarily with people that have kind of the same backgrounds, and so you're learning from each other, building that network, building that diversity of perspective. Larger programs, for example, you'll often find the finance folks kind of hang with the finance folks and marketing with the marketing folks. But I think here we see people from all disciplines sort of making those connections, building that network, which may help you a little bit now, but it'll help you big time after that 4th or 5th promotion when you really need to lean on someone for the big picture.
Absolutely. So talk about building the network, and we'll go to our class representative here in the middle, middle left. There's 4 of us. I guess there's not a center. But talk a little bit about some of the activities and things that do really spin off from just networking and building relationships, and what the program and the students do to maintain that.
Sure. So I think one of the biggest ways, right at the beginning, is we have a lot of social networking events, and this kind of helps you get to know your classmates. And like I said before, they work all over Atlanta. So when there's a job posting, say at Coca-Cola, they're going to let their classmates know first. So if there's any interest of you staying in Atlanta and working for a big company, it's great to get to know where your classmates work. Another thing is the Career Center is great for connecting you to alumni. So if there's a specific industry, say consulting, that you're interested in, there are so many events held on campus each semester that allows you to meet with those alumni and kind of build your network and see if it's something that you want to do. So not only do you have support from the program office and networking within your class with people who are already fairly high up in their companies and can really help transition you into a career, but also the Career Management Center is there as well. And the alumni network is amazing. I would say it's one of the strongest alumni network I've ever seen. And we have 36, I think, coming on June 11th just to spend time with our class and give them feedback on their roles in different industries. So it's really great.
Oh, that's fantastic. Doug, talk a little bit about the philosophy of career in this program, because some people might look at this and say, you're coming to class at night and you're trying to cram in the curriculum and things like that. What is done to make sure there is still that focus on career and that a chance to advance careers or even build skills that may lead to a switch down the road or something beyond what someone's currently doing?
I think as John sort of touched on earlier, there's multifaceted. One just being exposing yourself to kind of other disciplines and other opportunities, which you may or may not see as a strength, and you want to kind of in some ways build up some capabilities there and look later on maybe for an opportunity. We certainly do encourage the students to, it's a It's obviously a professional degree, a terminal degree. You should be looking for new opportunities, and we try to create co-curricularly with our Career Management Center. Natalie mentioned contacts with alumni. We also have a mentoring program that's optional that students may choose to pursue. There's guest speakers that come in class. We launched an evening speaker series this past semester. So just trying to create as many connection points as we can for students with industry, and then allowing them obviously to self-select into what they think works for them.
Speaking of self-selecting, John, I'll throw this question to you. Student activities, some folks are asking about that. What do you participate in, or what do you plan to participate in down the road?
Yeah, certainly. So to date, I've probably participated in a skewed number of social events and just chances to get to know people. There's great opportunities to go on trips with your classmates and just connect with them, whether it's lunch or drinks, however you choose. I think over the coming year, I plan to engage more in the variety of clubs that are available. These are clubs that are focused on a specific concentration or industry if you want to learn more about that industry. So whether it's consulting or healthcare or analytics, you can get plugged into to groups like that.
Natalie, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the other groups that you've been involved in?
Sure. So I was a social chair for 2 years before I became president. I can say that we try to make as many events per semester as we can. We have big ones that are actually, we network with the full-time MBAs and the executive MBAs, and that is our spring formal. It's a great time to kind of get to know everyone in the MBA program. And then, I went to Japan, so I was part of that colloquium, and I know that we're having just reunions for the Japan trip. And then the 2016s have decided to have a reunion every 16th of the month to celebrate themselves. So I think the relationships you make here are extremely strong. There's a lot of chances to get involved in social events. So if you can't make one, that doesn't mean that you can't have a social life at Emory, because there's more than enough chances for you to get involved.
Besides some of the social activities, there's also some co-curricular activities that have, in some ways, an academic, sort of aspect to them. I just came back this past weekend with a group of evening MBA students from the Gettysburg Leadership Experience. We were there with a history faculty member from the War College, relating strategy and tactics in the battlefield to strategy and tactics in the business world. We do a leaders reaction course in conjunction with Fort Benning. It's a chance for students to put themselves into uncomfortable positions as a team and figure out how to solve some problems. So, and that supports what I think is a very robust leadership curriculum and co-curricular set of activities.
It's very true. Looking at this slide that's up right now, one thing that I think some people might be saying, like, what's all that about? Bringing your boss to breakfast. So have either of you been able to do that along the way, and how does that go? It seems like it'd be a little awkward at first, but probably again building those networks.
Yeah, it was been a great positive experience for me. My boss actually did the evening program a few years prior to me going, so she was excited to go to hear Dean Bowman speak. We went to a marketing series, and so it was really exciting for her to kind of go back and see if she knew any of the professors in attendance. But it was great meeting all of socializing with everybody else's boss as well, and it was nothing but a great experience for me.
Yeah. Likewise, my boss and I both had a very good time a few months ago at this very event. We're a rapidly growing company. My boss was looking for people to hire. He was using it as a chance to meet smart students that were in my cohort, and he really enjoyed it as a chance to better understand the world that I was living outside of the office, and he could better see why I needed to leave early some days. And I thought it was very helpful. It kind of brought to life for him what the experience really was, and just in that context, if it's a company that I want to continue to grow at, it gives him further buy-in and incentive that I'm around a group of smart people and we're under good instruction, and makes me more valuable to him.
It's a good point. You talk about why you need to leave work early. I think that most of the folks who are watching this are probably definitely weighing the time commitment and trying to balance life and school. If you could talk to them directly right now, what's the 1 or 2 nuggets of advice you would give them, knowing what you know now, that you wish you knew day one, to help their transition be smooth and they can get the most out of the program?
Yeah, I'll take a first swing at it. I think I knew this going into it, that it was just going to be a lot of time management. Mm-hmm. I'm married, so there was a lot of, I knew I would need to over-communicate with my wife, different events, different expectations for when I was going to go out after class and go out with classmates, and when projects were due, when big exams were. And even knowing that, I still probably didn't do it enough. So some of it is trial by fire, but I think over-communicate with the people around you, what your schedule is going to be and needs to be, and I think you can get through it. It's a good learning experience.
I think the most important thing for me was knowing that I wanted to try and graduate early. So I'm trying to finish in the 7 semesters and looking at what that meant for my course schedule and doing colloquium, because as Dean Bowman mentioned, we do have to travel for a week for that, and as well as doing Washington campuses a week. So I had asked my boss before I started, knowing that in my second year I would be doing 2 of these and taking 2 weeks off work, and really explaining the schedule and getting her to understand the flexibility that comes with, that I have to leave maybe 30 minutes earlier for class. She's really tried to work with me and even scaled back some of my traveling if I had finals. So that communication from the very beginning was key, and it remains to be key, is communicating when my finals are, so that if I have a trip planned up, we can best adjust my schedule. So that's just an important ongoing thing.
I think that's one thing that the program office really jumps on as well, is making sure that there is that flexibility. There are career counselors available at night in class. There are advisors available at night when you're here. So there's not this sort of mad dash to try to get a lunch hour over here or a phone call. That everything you need is here when you are here taking class.
Yep, and the career advisors, they'll travel too as well. We'll have conversations in coffee shops or at the office if necessary. There's a lot of Skype conversations that are also taking place.
It's wonderful. So Natalie, I'll ask this question of you. In what way is your concentration or courses preparing you for the next step in your career? I know you're trying to get done quickly, but what are some of the things that you are focusing on and want to apply?
Sure, absolutely. So I have, I have a background in healthcare, so I did look into the healthcare concentration, and that's certainly a core piece of what I'm trying to take away, is how the overall business looks, since I'm so specialized. But I really started to get interested in statistics and data analytics while I was here, and it's something I've always been interested in, but now I can see myself applying that to the role I currently have. And from fellow classmates, I've learned how to use Excel to a great degree in applying these statistics. So I think it's really helped me define exactly what I want to do when I graduate, and just saying, when I would say generally I want to be a consultant, well, now I can say I want to be a consultant, but I definitely want to be on the healthcare side of, and not just a generalist. So it's helped me define and narrow down that role.
John, same question?
Yeah, I think that I think I'm fortunate in my current role at work. I'm in a bit of a generalist role, so I'm learning many of the ins and outs of what it takes to try to run a business unit under good instruction from my boss. So I am heavily invested in learning better marketing, learning better operations, learning how to make better finance decisions, and I think I've had the chance to pull on even my first 3 semesters of classes that start to hit some of those on an introductory level. You're sitting in class in operations, and you kind of get a spark, and you realize this is something that I could take this, and at least, whether I have an actionable plan to apply this the next day, I could at least write it down on a sticky note on my desk and say, I learned about that last night, and I should probably think about how to incorporate that into this plan I'm working on at work. So I think it's been really, really helpful and very applicable, kind of same day or next day, where you just realize there's a whole area that you've been blind to because you just haven't really sunk your teeth into the essence of marketing and whether you're doing it well for your customers. And I was kind of convicted of that in my class and thought it was really helpful.
Yeah, I didn't even know I was good at operations until I started taking classes and realized it's probably one of my strongest suits.
That's fine. And Doug, I'm sure when you talk about that time with faculty after class, some of it probably is that like you said, there's a light bulb that goes off, and there's a, I could really apply this to work, and then there's this sort of, more deep dive on how I can do that.
Yeah, and absolutely, and those conversations might take place, 9:15 to 10 at night, but, they might also be follow-up the next day or kind of the next week, yep.
Right. Question for both of you. In what ways has the program exceeded your expectations?
Yeah, I had high expectations coming in, so I think it's really, they've done a great job meeting those and exceeding those. I think on the exceeding front, it's just the quality of the people that are around you, and that probably sounds like a bit of a cliche answer, but I can attest to it being true. There's just a really, really high caliber of people, both in your cohort, your fellow students, and the faculty you're talking to. I mean, you're sitting in your first class, and your professor is an author of the textbook or a contributor to the textbook, and you realize this person knows a lot about this field, a lot more than I ever will. So the quality of the people is really, really fabulous.
I definitely agree. And another takeaway that something that's, I knew that the professors and the staff were going to be amazing, but to see them so invested in their students and evening students, to try and meet them, during lunch, out of office hours on the weekend, it just shows me how committed they are and to support you and make sure that you do well. That's something that's been huge and really added to my experience of the Emory community.
And I could say from even just a marketing communication standpoint, as we're planning school-wide events, it's definitely why we put events later in the day and why we, work with the evening program office and try to figure out, how can we make sure evening students, come into here. So, you're definitely part of this community. I think that is somewhat unique or a good speaking point in the sense that, it's not just the part-time, night class, if you will. They're definitely part of the community.
Sure.
Some parting thoughts, that I think would be important is how would you recommend future students make the most out of their time at Goizueta? Because there's obviously a lot to do, and a lot to get done. How would you recommend they get the most out of it?
I'll take a first swing, and Natalie can probably expound upon that because she's got a little more experience than I do. But so far, I think my biggest takeaway is say yes to everything you can. If there's an opportunity to go out and meet with professors and meet with students, if there's an opportunity to go to an event or a social or a leadership event or a club, I can't say yes to all of them, but I try to say yes. I try to say yes to as many as I can because it just puts you in situations to grow. And
one really important lesson I actually learned from the Career Management Center was, you'll get something out of whatever you put into. So, even if you don't say yes to everything, you're still going to get a lot out of Emory. If like John said, if you say yes to everything, then you're going to get everything out of it. So, if you're going to try and attend 90%, then you're going to have that network and support. My best friends are all at Emory. We do social groups together. We go out. We study together. Our schedules are the same, so that's been great. And then as far as the Career Management Center, it's like another class when you're searching for a job and putting in all that time. But at the same time, I've gotten so many resources out of it that I couldn't even pay for a class to give me that much, and it's a free service. So definitely take advantage of everything that Emory has to offer because it's there for a reason, and it's a great support system for you.
One of the things I'll talk to students as they're selecting classes, and the perspective is, think about some classes that'll help you to get that next promotion, but also make sure you have a few classes that that are relevant after your 5th promotion. Mm-hmm. So you want some things that are relevant, tactical, whatever, but you also need to get some classes that are outside your comfort zone, help you get that big picture for later.
Mm-hmm. And that's one thing that's great about Emory Goizueta Business School in general. We have alumni who are in all walks of life, all great careers, C-suite, and major companies, Fortune 500 companies. So you're absolutely right. Think about that 5th career. Think about it as you move up the ladder, and you can get there from here, if you will. I've put up the contact information on the screen for our admissions office, particularly Kathleen and Rebecca, the two ladies who take the lead on admissions for the evening program. Feel free to contact them, tweet us, email, phone. We're here to answer your questions. But I would like to thank our panelists today, for being on board and talking about some of these things related to the program, and we will be posting this online later on. So from Goizueta Business School, I'm J. Michael Moore signing off.
The preceding program is copyrighted by Emory University.